Senator Joni Ernst, it's great to have you with us here at the Media Research Center. I first became aware of you when you first ran for the United States Senate in 2014. Your commercial was legendary. It made national news.
To cut wasteful spending, repeal Obamacare, and balance the budget. I'm Joni Ernst, and I approve this message because Washington's full of big spenders. Let's make them squeal.
And I got to tell you, I've been in D.C. a long time, and I've known lots of politicians. Most are talkers, some are doers. You're not only a doer, you're the leader of the pack. You have made good on your word. As the chairman of the Doge caucus, what can you tell us about what government is going to be doing, and what are you doing to cut spending?
Well, thank you, Dan. And I am so glad to be in a position now where we not only have buy-in from a lot of our great colleagues that are working with me on the Doge caucus, but also from this administration. So we do have the Department of Government Efficiency, and that's really given me a platform to take all of my squeal work and actually get some things over the finish line. So predominantly what we're working on right now in the context of Doge is the rescissions package. I have worked long and hard to provide a blueprint that will take us up to $2 trillion of savings. We know that we'll start small, just kind of test the waters, and we are working with Director Russ Vogt over at the Office of Management and Budget, and he put some of those items into a rescissions package from the president. It is now coming to us here. It's passed through the House. It's coming to the Senate, but a little over $9 billion. And I know that sounds very small, but again, we're testing the waters and trying to get rid of some of the funding that is going to things like NPR and PBS, USAID. And I have long been fighting these organizations to find out how they were using taxpayer dollars. So that's really what we're focused on right now, in addition to the one big, beautiful bill. But we're really trying to find those savings in the federal government.
You know, Senator, my mom at different times would ask me if who she should vote for, who's the real deal, what organizations she should support. And I would tell her, come and ask me, because you can't know what's going on behind the scenes in Washington, D.C. I live in the swamp. I work in the swamp. I can assure you, I've been working very closely with your team. I know what you are doing, your commitment to fighting for American taxpayers and for Iowans, of course. And I just want to point to a couple, maybe even 3 bills I know that you are pushing. The saving billions in bogus payments, delivering on Doge government efficiency. What's the chance of this actually happening, Senator?
Right. Well, I think the chances are very good, as long as the Democrats are willing to play ball here, because you will not have any Democrats who will openly say they are supporting fraud, waste, and abuse in the federal government. Now, I started my career as a county auditor in a very small rural county where I still live today in southwest Iowa. But as a county auditor, whenever I would input any of the payments that were coming from our county department heads, they always gave me a very long number and a description for whatever payment I was to make from our county resources. Well, what we've discovered through the Doge efforts is that the federal government, when payments are going out from the Treasury, they don't necessarily have any line item number associated with it, nor do they have a description. So we have no idea where those payments are going, who they're being made to, why they're being made. So this has to change. And what we'll do is require the federal government then to make sure that they have the appropriate line item number and that people are putting in a description of why that payment is being made. It's common sense. Auditors do this all the time.
Well, Senator, so likewise, let me ask you this. Ending unemployment for millionaires, another bill of yours. Why are millionaires getting unemployment benefits?
Right. Well, we know that across the unemployment system, there are many, many different types of employees that pay into that system. Many of them make enormous salaries. They are millionaires. But if they happen to get laid off, as we saw during COVID, they will start receiving benefits as well, even though they may be compensated through other means, other resources. But most often, they are not the ones that truly do need unemployment benefits. This was meant to be a safety net. So we want to limit millionaires from receiving what should go to those lower hourly workers, making sure that we're able to shore up the unemployment system. Certainly, we've spent a lot of money supporting millionaires who really did not need those payments.
Yeah. Senator, I know you are from Southwest Iowa. We've been working with your team very assiduously on trying to defund NPR and PBS. And by that, it means ending forced taxpayer subsidies to these media outlets. No other media outlet in America gets this congressional earmark. And I got to tell you, we really appreciate how you are leading that effort. But right here in my hands, I actually have today's schedule for the local public broadcaster in your area. And it's shocking. There's hardly any content that comes from or relates to Iowa. Your constituents are having to use their taxpayer dollars to subsidize programming coming from London for the British broadcasting system, Washington, D.C., Boston, Washington, D.C. again, New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia. There's hardly a thing called local broadcasting when it comes to local shows on NPR. Why are Iowans being required to hand over their hard-earned tax dollars to fund propaganda media, frankly?
Yes, and that's a question I've had for years now. And it's not that our constituents maybe don't appreciate NPR or PBS, but why are they subsidizing it? We don't do that for CBS, ABC, any of the other networks. So certainly, why do we need to do it for PBS and NPR? And what we have found is that large in part, many of the programs, if they're considered news programs, they are coming from organizations that are very left-leaning. And we've actually dug into a lot of that and have questioned some of the grants that have gone there, some of the payments that have gone there, which, we would say is probably not appropriate since they're very, very left-leaning organizations. Now, granted, my mother, she loves hopping on PBS if there's a quilting show or something like that. But what we're saying is taxpayers shouldn't subsidize it. Certainly, they receive donations from charitable organizations and people all across the great state of Iowa. And certainly, if that's how people want to spend their money, I agree. Go ahead and send them a donation. But we shouldn't be forced to do it through taxpayer dollars. We shouldn't be engaging in supporting one news outlet over another.
Yeah, I agree with you, Senator. Three quick things before I get off of NPR and PBS. Their lobbyists are on the Hill right now, probably using our tax dollars to lobby for more spending. $1.1 billion is at issue right now. But they're claiming right now that they've got some sort of a unique service they provide with the emergency alert system. They claim that farmers need NPR to know the weather, and that the local news is only available through NPR. You grew up in production agriculture.
Oh my.
Is it true that farmers need NPR to know the weather?
No. Simple answer, no.
And isn't it true that the Federal Communications Commission requires every broadcaster, every radio station, every TV station to provide emergency alerts?
Right, exactly. And I would say, if you really want updated prices on your commodities, you're going to tune into local radio stations or so forth. I mean, I can go to a number of the local radio stations in my area and get those prices, the market prices for the day. We don't need to know from PBS or NPR. And certainly, I know my local broadcasters, and they will give me the weather. I can look on my phone and get that. I don't need some fancy news organization subsidized by our taxpayer dollars to tell me any of that information.
Yeah. Well, Senator, the big news today, and the big news that we're going to have for quite a while, the U.S. is now engaged in armed conflict to take out the nuclear weapons facilities and sites in Iran. Now, you are a retired military officer. I think you served 23 years in uniform, including during combat time in Kuwait. What advice do you have for Iowans and for others who might be active in this engagement or who are concerned about it?
Well, interestingly enough, we have just gone through the mobilization of 1,800 Iowa Army National Guardsmen who will be serving in the Middle East. And so, of course, I am always very concerned anytime, whether it's Iowans or other service members, anytime that we have to utilize them in a defensive posture, whether it's here at the homeland or abroad, what the folks on the left will argue is this is an offensive strike against Iran and that we've engaged in war. And I would say, no, that is not accurate. Iran has killed many American service members through the last several decades, whether it's the global war on terrorism, whether it has been since the global war on terrorism has ceased through their terrorist proxies in the region. They have open assassination plots against former members of the Trump administration. I could go on and on and on. And we know their nuclear ambitions were very soon to be realized, no longer because of those U.S. strikes against their nuclear facilities. We always say when an authoritarian regime is promising death to name your country, then usually they are going to follow through. And we took that threat very seriously and have now taken out the capability to produce nuclear warheads. So again, precision strikes against a nuclear uranium enrichment facility. This was not against innocent civilians who were residing comfortably in a city somewhere or a village somewhere. This was a precision attack against an enrichment facility and centrifuges. So for my Iowans and service members, we know that then this presents a heightened level of concern in the Middle East, and we want them to be aware, to be watching anything that looks unusual and be prepared to react and seek cover if necessary. But we have incredible leaders that are serving in the Middle East, and we know that if something should happen, America will prevail. We're not looking for a land war. Most certainly, we're not seeking that. What we did want to do is ensure that Americans in our homeland are safe.
Yeah. Well, Senator, you truly are a leader. The leader of the pack in trying to cut wasteful government spending. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the work you and your staff do in that area. But before I let you go, I just have to ask this one last question. How long have you been riding a Harley, and how many times a year do you actually get on that bike and enjoy the Iowa fields?
Oh, gosh. I have been riding a motorcycle since I was probably about 11 or 12.
Wow.
And that's kind of a necessity on the farm. Most farms in Iowa, you'll either have motorcycles, four-wheelers. We used to have three-wheelers. Nowadays, they have what we call side-by-sides. But I've been riding a motorcycle just about about my whole life. Riding a Harley-Davidson, I think since about 2005, maybe, I got my first Harley-Davidson. I'm on my second one now. I moved up. I ride a Harley-Davidson Softail Deluxe. And I honestly, because of my travel schedule and out doing county tours, I don't get to ride it as much as I would like, but I am guaranteed at least once every year to do my annual roast and ride, which is a really fun event in Iowa. I get to spend time with a lot of great motorcycle enthusiasts, and we have a lot of fun.
Senator, thank you so much. You are a true inspiration, a leader, and a wonderful senator. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Dan.